welcome back to your weekly chat with myself and Nick. Nick, how are we doing?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks yourself.
Yeah, not too bad, mate, not too bad. Played 11-a-side this morning. My legs are killing me, so yeah, we'll leave it at that. But we'll get into the more important questions. Wednesday night, we did have a cup game. How did we get on?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's plain to see how we got on. It wasn't our priority. We had a nice little run to the quarter final, but obviously our priority is survival in the league. So we rested over 50% of yesterday's starters, and it was a good opportunity to get some minutes into legs, but not really. Well, after the first 20 minutes, which weren't that bad, where we did create quite a few chances, but just didn't take them. And we played our way, but after the first 20, we couldn't really get going, and obviously the outcome was the outcome.
Yeah, definitely. So back into the more important question, shall we say? Yesterday's game against Ardley. How did we get on? And is there anything that you implemented into the game that you learned from playing them last time? I know it was quite a feisty affair at the new Lamb Meadow.
Yeah, I mean, the game, it was a game of two halves, a bit similar to the Leatherstock game, to be honest, which was obviously 0-0. There's a massive slope on the pitch. They had the ascendancy in the first half and got their goal from it. And we had the ascendancy in the second, going down the slope. I mean, the slope is a lot bigger than Leatherstock's pitch, and it was also very slippery yesterday. So I think it was one of those things where we had to play the conditions, and I don't think it was our best performance overall, but as a unit, the entire team pulled together and did what was required to get a very vital point out of it. I'd also say that the togetherness of this group is fantastic. You know, we've got some key injuries at the moment, and on Wednesday, injured players travelled up to Rugby to support the team, and yesterday, injured players travelled to Oxfordshire to support the team. You know, and that just shows how together this group are and how much they want to fight for each other. And I think them travelling to the game yesterday, by the sounds of it on the sidelines, probably gave us more spectators than the home team. So I think that also helped the boys in terms of getting over the line yesterday.
No, definitely. I mean, the game we had the other week at home, and you could see there was 3 or 4 players that, as you say, are injured or not selected, but were there in the crowd. So it's lovely to see that the boys are help or cheering each other on and boosting the confidence of the players on the pitch. What do you think the difference is, do you feel from the preparation from a midweek game to a game on a Saturday?
I think there's a number of things that can come into that. You know, obviously midweek, you've got the whole day in the build up to the game, so a number of things can happen in that. Number one, a lot of players work. So you've had a long work day, and then you've probably left work slightly early, and you're scrambling to get to a game to make meet time. So in terms of your preparation, things will obviously change from a midweek to a weekend. And I'd say that's probably the key difference is what can happen in, say, the 24 hours leading up to it. On a weekend game, I'd say you can probably almost control it a bit more. But then again, we do also have boys that work on Saturday morning, so that obviously plays a part as well. But I'd say it's a lot more controllable on a weekend than in a midweek. And then obviously you're also travelling in rush hour traffic to most games, so that also can add to the stresses, especially when you've got a long journey. But funnily enough, a lot of our midweek games we've had better performances. So I would say the prep that can be done in the lead up to that, in terms of, you know, you can have 2 to 3 good meals in the lead up to that on that day, which maybe you haven't had as good on a weekend.
No, yeah, definitely. Next question then. Being 1-0 down at half time, what did you say to the boys in the changing room before they came out for the second half?
I said we'd had the better chances in the first half. They really only had two chances. One of them was in the back of the net, and one of them was over the bar. And I reminded them that we were 1-0 down to St. Pantilimon last weekend and came back and got a draw in that, and probably, as we spoke last week, could have got more out of that. So just reminded them that if we keep doing the right things in the right areas, then we'll get that chance. And if we get that chance, then we've got to put it away, which Gabe obviously did from a good flick on from Stu. And then it's just a case of, can we then go on and get it? Unfortunately, yesterday, conditions, momentum shifts in the game, which is obviously a key thing in football. And the last kind of maybe 10 minutes of the game, they had a few corners. We defended really well. We defended a lot deeper, which is where I said the boys really pulled together. But I'd say it was just more about, we keep it at 1-0, and there's always more chances in this game for us. And I also reminded them that last week, just like we were down, they were up, and the team they were playing last week came back from being behind. So there's always going to be chances in games. It's just about having that composure to take them. And unfortunately, we did yesterday. Unfortunately, we couldn't get the winner, but another good point on the road, and every point absolutely matters at the moment. So yeah, the boys did really well in the second half and stuck to the game plan.
Yeah, well, there we go. Last question. I know you've mentioned this young lad before already in just what you've just said. Man of the match yesterday was Gabe. How well do you think he's settling into the team? Obviously, coming in quite late, it's always a harder one to come into when everyone's gelled and settled, sort of thing.
Yeah, well, obviously we got him from down the road at Stotfold. He wasn't getting an opportunity there, so I like the look of him, and we gave him that opportunity. And look, minutes have been, I think I said this to you last week, minutes have been up and down with him. He got quite a few, and then he was out of the team and on the bench for a few games. And then last week I had a chat with him, and I said, look, I know you haven't had many minutes, but just keep working hard. And when you come on today, and this was obviously against Pantilimon, that's your chance to put it all in and show us what you can do. And obviously he was fantastic in the second half when he came on for the last kind of, I think it was 30, 35 minutes, and obviously got the first equaliser and earned his start midweek. And then obviously midweek it didn't really go that great for him. I pulled him at half time. And I had a chat with him on Thursday. We had a light training session on Thursday. I had a chat with him there, and basically just explained why I brought him off at half time. I felt it was as much about protecting him because I didn't think he was having a particularly good half. And gave him the start yesterday, and he repaid it. And I said to the boys after, when I gave him man of the match, his attitude is team first. It's absolutely fantastic. And a lot of the boys' attitudes are team first, and that's so vital, especially in our position. And, when I spoke to him last week about the lack of minutes, he said, all I care about is the team doing well. And that's his attitude and his mentality, and it's absolutely top. And that's how he takes it onto the pitch and performs, and it's brilliant. But yesterday I've got to give credit to other players as well. But Gabe really did well. But Stu came on in an unfamiliar position and dominated that area of the pitch. Obviously gets the flick for the goal. But as a unit, we had to dig in yesterday against a well-organised side that know how to play their pitch. And off the back of, although it wasn't the whole squad on Wednesday, off the back of a poor result, which kind of deflated a little bit after the good result last weekend. So all together, the team had to pull together and get that result yesterday, and they did fantastic.
Well, thank you for your time here, Nick. Obviously, game on Tuesday, Leighton Town at the New Lamb Meadow. Fingers crossed we can pick up some points or point, which we
I
must.
think we're going more fingers crossed we can get the game on because weather is a bit of a killer at the moment. But I know Leighton have got an absolutely ridiculous fixtures backlog, so they'll be very keen to get it on just as much as we are.
No, definitely. Well, good luck on Tuesday, and we'll catch up and see how the boys get on.
Cheers, Dean.
Cheers, mate. Thank you ever so much for your time.